Hello, ARC family. Welcome to the ARC Journey. We're continuing our conversation of adaptive leadership. So, in summary from last week, um, we find ourselves in the area of needing adaptive leadership and launching into adaptive leadership when we realize that we are off the map, or we are leading into territory where we are no longer experts. And in fact, there are not experts around us or with us on this journey. So because of that, we have to launch into this adaptive leadership mode. Okay, so what that means is that while we are leading, we are also learning. We are learning on this journey, and in fact, everyone that we are taking with us is also learning. There are no experts that we can turn to give us advice for what's next. We have God and God alone, and everyone else who's on this journey, God is speaking to. So we are all adaptive learners, and you are the adaptive leader as you are taking them. So the second thing then to realize is that we don't have the answers. We don't even necessarily know all the right questions. The second thing to do is to understand the charism of your church, or what is that about your church that is unique. Who is your church and your makeup that God has, what has God gifted you with, what makes you tick, what's the glue that holds you all together, what are the things that you like, that God has wired you as a church to like to do as a family, and when you come together, what do you find yourselves doing? What are those things that happen kind of organically? For some of us, it might be service. They're always reaching out, doing something to touch people in the community. For others, it might be music, some kind of productions that they do, all the ways that they play and lead music. For others, it might be eating. It might be the prospect of cooking, eating, giving. How is it that God has wired you, right? Understanding what that charism is of the congregation and the family that you are serving. Okay, so once we understand those two things, then it is to begin to ask. The next step is to begin to ask the question of where are the pain points in our community? What are those things that people are suffering from? And then launching our people, beginning to ask the question, launching them to go find out in their community, in our communities, where are those places that God is reaching out, or will be reaching out, and is reaching out to alleviate, and how can we join him in that, and how is he inviting us to be a part of that? So that is one of the pivot points. Okay, is when we understand where are the pain points of our community, we can begin then to ask this question. And that question is, what might it look like if we were to help alleviate that very pain point? Or you might ask, what would we be able to do as a congregation, as the family of God, to do to help some of the people that we know that are wrestling with that very pain? So what we are doing is we are asking everyone here, everyone who is engaged in the conversation, who has helped to, who realizes that we are all learners on this journey, and uh, we're asking the question, what would it look like if we began to make the difference in someone else's life? And what would we be able to do? What can we do? And so we begin to plot out this experiment. It is absolutely critical that we keep in front of us that this is not necessarily the answer. We're not trying to find what is the absolute solution for this. What we're doing is engaging in an experiment. What is it that we could do? And once we have laid out all those kinds of possibilities, saying, hey, let's try this for a certain amount of time. So let's try this for 3 months. Let's try this for 6 months. And at the end of that 6 months, we'll come back and bring all the data that we have gathered, all the things that worked. That's when we lay it all out, right? This worked, this didn't work. We were successful at this, we were terrible at this. We learned this. That's the critical piece, is what did we learn to be able to move forward. And now we begin the conversation all over again. Knowing what we know now, how might we be able to attack this pain point and take Christ to the heart of what's going on? So we're not committing, asking people to commit to 6 months. We're asking them to go on this learning journey with us. We're asking them that we are going to bring this all back and reevaluate it, and then we'll talk about what the next steps are. And so this is the huge part of adaptive leadership, is understanding that we're not experts, that there are no experts here, that we are all on a journey to understand this together. The second point is understanding the charism. And the third point is, what is the pain point, and how can we, or how might we, what would it look like if we, as our community church, our community family, would be able to reach, to alleviate that pain point for a number of people in our community. And then you go on this journey of actually attempting to do that, with the idea that we are coming back in 6 months, that we are coming back together 3 months, 6 months, whatever the time frame is, that we haven't committed to this. It's not something that is absolute. What we're going to do is we're going on this adventure to find out what we can find out. We're going to explore, and we're going to bring back the data that we collect. We're going to all sit down, and we're going to come around the table, and we're going to say, this worked, this didn't work. What we learned from this is this. What we saw successful was this. And then begin to ask the question, how do we need to continue to adapt? How might we, knowing what we know now, be able to attack this pain point in the future? And is this the right pain point for us to be able to pour in our resources, our time, our energy, our talent, our time, treasure, talent into as we continue to move forward? It's a learning experience. It's a learning opportunity. All of this is an experiment. And that is the critical piece of the next critical piece of adaptive leadership. And so when we have those kinds of critical conversations with the people that we are leading, we gain their trust into heading off into territory that we haven't explored, that is new for all of us. And the opportunity to be able to trust and follow is all built on the idea that this is an experiment. We're all learning together. We're going to move through this, and everyone will come back together and talk about what we learned and where we go after this 6 months. So we will talk some more about all of this and the next steps of this when we come together next week. In the meantime, keep shining, keep exploring, and I'm hoping that you're able to wrap your head around this idea of adaptive leadership, because we are all leading off the map at the moment. We're not experts in where we're headed and what's happening. Because God is out in front and leading us into a new territory. So keep shining, keep making disciples, and we'll talk to you next week. Bye bye.